Let's go through the papers then for you this morning. Joining us is former editor of the Daily Star, Dawn Neeson, and former advisor to Boris Johnson, Oscar Redrop. Good to see you both once again. Let's have a look at the eye, Oscar, should we? Looking at, I mean, it's interesting. Boris Johnson has got this position now of the president of Friends of Ukraine. You've got to say, his attitude towards Ukraine, how he's dealt with Ukraine, and even after he left office, has been quite something, I think. And the support and praise he's had from President Zelensky means an awful lot.
Yeah, I was, when I was at Number 10, I was aware of the calls that they were having with each other, and they seemingly actually developed a really quite strong and genuine friendship. And I know you can get fatigue with the Ukraine stuff, and it's really understandable. And of course, like we've talked about it all morning, that the absolute on our doorstep issues that we currently have that are so difficult in people's lives. But we have to remember that if we don't fight this war, and we don't support the fighting of this war, that it's an absolute affront on democracy overall. And it's really nice to see that Boris has this position where hopefully he feels he can continue to kind of talk to the people of Ukraine and offer the UK support.
And be a useful conduit.
Yes, absolutely. And I think what Boris did actually on the issue, because sometimes, if we're being really honest, it is hard for people to sometimes connect with issues that are not, as I was saying, at their doorstep. And I think what Boris did really well is he kind of swept us up in it a bit, and he made us feel like we had a duty and a right to. And we do get quite inward-looking sometimes as a nation. And actually, I think what makes Britain great is actually when we do answer the calls and things like that. And I think Boris really understood that in a really powerful way.
Yeah. Dawn?
You're nodding away, Dawn.
Yeah, no, well, I totally agree. How can you not agree? And what's going on out there is horrendous, and all this talk of the nuclear weapons and chemical weapons. And it's like, if we let him get away with what he's doing in Ukraine, where next? Where does it stop? I mean, this is the thing. I mean, Poland. I mean, it's where does it stop? So I think, but the cynical part of me also does still partly subscribe to the fact that maybe it was a way of Boris becoming more popular in general by using the Ukraine. That's just a cynical part of me.
We were getting on so
just
well.
I'm just saying.
I have to say, I'm very suspicious of politicians. I think they do play the game. However, I always got the impression with Boris that he was being very genuine.
I think he was being very genuine.
Well, you've got to remember who his big idol always was Winston Churchill, who was such a war leader, and also made a big comeback. Oscar, just saying, could go back to Downing Street. You never know.
Mind you, talking of leaders and their popularity, where this U-turn on the 45p tax cut. Although it's been broadly welcomed, and actually broadly welcomed by a lot of our viewers and listeners this morning. But where does it leave the Prime Minister now, who said she was prepared to make difficult decisions and be unpopular?
Yeah.
Clearly, this has been one step too far for her.
Well, you have to remember the context. If you're into your politics and you're in the game, if you like, you forget. If you take a step back, most people did not know who the Prime Minister really was up until the last couple of weeks, and what they've been exposed to is something reputationally really quite damaging. What I would say is, we can tail chase a bit in the media, and social media, as you were saying earlier, actually, does contribute to that. And actually, I do think that there needs to be a bit of space allowed for the government to try and get on and deliver for constituents and members of the public. And don't forget, we are apt, it's a bit Game of Thronesy, but winter is coming now, and it's getting really serious. And I do think the media do need to slightly let them breathe. Having said that, it's a really kind of traumatically difficult start.
I object
exactly.
to the whole media needs to step back. I mean, these are calls from within the Conservative Party that have been for the U-turn. They're with market reaction. I think the media has broadly just been reporting the facts and all of this. But I do think a lot of people will assess, whether or not Kwasi Kwarteng lives to tell the tale or not, will assess this first move of this new administration as having had a significant impact on mortgages, interest rates, the housing market. And I think a lot of people won't forgive them for it.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. So you absolutely, you can really over-intellectualise politics, and when, you know, the cost of living crisis, mortgage rates, energy bills, there's a real human cost here, and as a politician it's really easy, I think, to walk around number 10 or number 11, and you have all your advisors, and you have all your think tanks, and you kind of get really lost in this world, and it feels almost like it's not real. But it is real, and all I would emphasise in the communications moving forward is, you know, have the humility, try and really fight to have that human connection with the public. They will respect you for it, because there's going to be difficult messages
well,
they have
they're using that language, haven't they, this morning? And
yeah,
we get it. We've listened. We get it.
But it's
too
interesting.
late, though.
I would disagree with Isabel on the media side of things. And Dawn, you know how papers work.
I do.
There is a sense, isn't there? Let's be honest, that if editors smell blood in the water, they go for the kill, don't they?
The bottom line with newspapers is you put on page one what is going to sell to your readers. I mean, it is a product at the end of the day, so you go for what is going to sell your paper. And that's why, you know, you do get sort of like the Mirror, sort of like Liz Truss is toast, basically, whereas the Express, and that's dated very badly, isn't it? Quasi, no more decline, we must stay the course. Oops. I mean, that's where we are with the media today. It's like, the newspapers are overtaken almost by minute by what's happening on social media and on the online site. So, yeah, but there is a certain extent of going for a target, and politicians, as we've discussed earlier, are a very easy target at the moment for everybody. Dangerously so, I think, as you know, we think of recent events with David Amess and Joe Cox latterly. So I think it's a dangerous ground if we do demonise politicians as much as some of the media, both the print and the online sites, are doing at the moment. I think that's a very dangerous game to play. But the one thing I wanted to ask Oscar, you know Boris very well. You worked with him for a year. Would he come back now? If he was given the opportunity, would he be back?
I genuinely have absolutely no idea at all. And I genuinely don't. I think that we all know that under his we all know in his time as Prime Minister, there was quite a lot on his plate in terms of a pandemic.
Yeah, mostly birthday cake.
European war. Well,
sorry.
I fell into that one. It's all right, Dawn.
Cheap.
We were getting on very well. I don't know what's happening. So there was a lot going on, and I think there is he will just want the government to get on and deliver for the communities that voted Conservative for the first time in years.
The problem with Boris, surely, or the problem for Boris, whether he would want to come back or not, is that he's not going to get back on that ballot, is he? He's not going to get back on the final two, because it was the backbenchers who turned against it.
Well, yeah, I get it's fun to talk about kind of returns and to kind of like hypothesise about it, but I don't think it is. I mean, I have no idea, but this is Liz Truss's government. She has the opportunity. With conference, it's what's quite, politically, I guess, exciting about it in a kind of a soap opera EastEnders way. She now has an opportunity, after a really, really difficult week or so, to kind of set the tone, set the new agenda. And again, remember that we talked about this backstage, and this is a little bit of a difficulty I do have sometimes. The people who voted for the Conservatives in 2019, like that electoral kind of makeup was so drastically different to what it has been before.
Yeah.
So just really try and remember that. And Boris will just want those communities to be served.
That's because the people weren't necessarily voting for a party, were they? They were voting for an issue.
Yeah.
Brexit issue.
But all that came with that.
Yeah.
And the personality, I think, as well. I think they were voting for Boris.
And the opposition. Don't forget it was Jeremy Corbyn. So, people were voting against Corbyn as well. We were talking about newspapers and putting on the front page what sells, because at the end of the day it is a business. Well, Dawn, as a former editor of The Star, please tell me why beef burgers helping with depression was on their front page this morning.
I'm going to, because The Star obviously likes to lighten the load a bit and try to have some fun. I mean, the newspapers can be a bit depressing at the moment, aren't they? So this is a happy meal, and this is beef burgers can help ward off depression and make us happy, psychiatrists have said. It's a major study of, I think it's 440,000 people across the UK.
Actually a decent study.
It's a decent study. It's not just a straw poll. Decent study. And they have found that the ingredients in burgers, beef burgers, proper beef burgers, we're not talking about the cheap and nasty ones, but mainly probably the iron and the B vitamins are responsible for fighting depression.
Oh.
So basically red meat, essentially.
Well, I mean, they don't list whether it applies to other red meat or not, which is interesting. They're just saying pure beef. And non-oily fish is associated with higher rates of depression.
Right.
So, yeah, and everything in between, I'm guessing, as well. But it's obviously not good news for the Greta Thunberg types, because obviously beef farming is terribly bad for the environment. So you might be depressed because the environment's going to hell in a handcart as well. So it's a nice try to try to cheer us up. But
It is a nice try. Mind you, the Daily Star, was it yesterday or was it the day before? And it was all about John Coulshaw being possessed by the ghost of Les Dawson.
that was a bit weird.
I don't really get those reference
yes.
points. Am I?
too young.
Yeah. All right. I get it.
Oscar, though,
Do you ever want to come back?
No, sorry. I'll drop it now.
It's terrible.
keeping, reference points, though, you do want to talk about beef burgers. This is in the Sun this morning.
Yeah, so this is with the current situation in Ukraine. I thought there was something within the horrific darkness of that situation. There was a nice little bit of normality, kind of positive mood here, where in the Ukraine, in the Sun, it said that several McDonald's chains have started to open up in different regions in the Ukraine, and people are queuing up for their Big Macs and their Happy Meals and stuff. And I just think, in some ways, and I know it's so, in the big scheme of things, insignificant, but in a way, like to Russia and Putin, that is just a lovely, and I won't swear, but it's just a really nice way of throwing it back in.
It is very
You're
important.
thinking Russia, where they got rid of...
Yeah, but I think they've just reopened a McDonald's in Russia.
Well, under new, I think they had to use the new branding.
It's like
they,
I'm
pretty sure.
But like real normal McDonald's, I think that's a nice little.
Things like that are important, and they'll be really important.
Yes.
I mean, not because it just shows, the sort of investment or confidence in the country.
Yeah.
But for those people living there, it's that tiny slice of normality.
Coping mechanism.
Absolutely. In a weird way, it's kind of what that whole thing's about. It's why this country and we need to continue to support Ukraine in every which way we can.
Absolutely.
Small wins.
Doesn't have to be McDonald's though. Whatever way it might be. Global.
There you go.
Dawn, should we talk about fireworks?
Yes,
we were talking about Christmas a little bit earlier, and I have a rule. I don't like to talk about Christmas until after fireworks. We've broken that rule, so let's talk about fireworks.
Let's talk about fireworks. This is in the Telegraph today, and fireworks shows fizzle out as councils blame the cost of living crisis. And this is environmental concerns and budget worries are forcing local authorities to drop bonfire displays.
Why environmental concerns?
Well, because it's bad for the atmosphere if you're burning things, Stephen, evidently.
Is it?
I know. And Leeds Council...
Joy killers.
What, exactly. Leeds Council have cancelled all 6 displays.
Wow.
So you're not going to have any fireworks if you live in Leeds, and there's Sparks in the Parks in Cardiff, which has been going for 40 years. Obviously, the pandemic changed things as well, but they've cancelled that for the first time because they can't afford it. And I just think we all need a bit of
but
fun,
you know what?
sparkle.
I have some sympathy.
Are you going to say from a cat's point of view?
No. I mean, I do fireworks. We do fireworks at home. I've always liked
In the garden?
It's in the garden.
In the...
No, in the garden.
Not in the house.
It's
in the kitchen.
It's what we always did when I was growing up. We just had little fireworks in the garden thing. So that's what we do. That's what I like. But I can understand if you're living in an area with all the problems and the council tax going up and all that, and then you're saying the council's spending a couple of £100,000 on fireworks.
Set to
I can
music.
understand the frustration.
But I just like the idea of being able to wave a sparkler. But I mean, on the opposite side of this, safety groups are saying they have concerns because of the big displays are cancelled, the organised safety displays are cancelled. More people will be having fireworks at home, which is obviously more dangerous.
Yeah, but just be sensible doing it. We've done it for generations. You've got to be careful. Be very sensible.
Didn't do you any harm, did it, waving a sparkler in your garden?
No, but I didn't hold it in my face.
I remember as a child witnessing a firework accident and have always had a healthy fear of fireworks ever since. Not, I like the big displays, but I would never really do DIY or let anyone I know go near a DIY one because I've seen that and someone got facial burns and ambulance. The whole, when you're that age, impressioned way, it's never left me. Speaking of injuries, hospitals and the like, Oscar, you've got a story for us in the Telegraph front page, in fact.
Yeah, so really quite troubling data, to be frank. So hospitals are scrapping more than 22,000 appointments every single day. I think everyone watching the TV right now will know, if it's not them personally, they will know someone in their family who is waiting on. I know you were talking, Dawn, about your situation. They will know someone who is, waking up every day wondering, when am I going to be seen? This is absolutely causing me a great deal of anxiety and pain. That COVID backlog that built up. I mean, I know that will be and has to be an absolute priority. You can't talk about, levelling up and improving people's lives if they can't access, the National Health Service. It's hugely concerning. We've had quite a few health secretaries. I empathise with how difficult that task is, and I hope Therese Coffey will be able to...
What do you make of Therese Coffey doing that role?
I thought she was a really, really talented, really talented politician. I think she's also she's actually quite likeable.
Yeah, I like her a lot.
As a
I thought there's
character.
going to be some more colour from her, I must admit, given she's larger than life as a sort of personality. When we've done the morning round with her, she's very straight. I would have to say disappointingly so.
Well, probably, in some ways because of the
Role
backlog that she'll be. But she's really likeable, and she's real common sense based as well. Like, I think she'll just go like, you know what? In so many other, in so many ways, the only issue in some ways is that backlog.
It
and I think she'll be pretty
but it's almost
hell
an
bent
impossible
on
task, isn't it? Trying to sort that out. I mean, where do you even start with that?
Well, Mike says the NHS is totally broken. Replace it with a French-style health system. It works superbly, even through COVID. People need to grow up and take more responsibility for their own lives.
Maybe so. I don't know how the French one works. There's a bit more detail on that one.
Well, the German and the Australian system is quite similar, I think, to the French one, where if you can afford it, there is a private healthcare aspect to it. It's not privatising the NHS before people start screaming, but if you can, you pay a small amount, a very small amount, not like private healthcare, and it funds the system, and you do get, from what I understand, in Australia and Germany, appointments straight away.
No, that's the thing. Can we talk royal family?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Did you? Who is the richest royal now?
William. Sorry.
She knows her stuff.
It is
Because of the
William.
Duchy of Cornwall.
Duchy of Cornwall.
Sorry.
Yeah, of course.
But there's an interesting piece in the Sun, isn't there, Dawn?
Yes, absolutely. This is Charles Highgrove Bill. Prince William is the King's new landlord and is collecting hundreds of thousands of pounds in rent from his dad. This is William, obviously. It's taken over the Duchy of Cornwall, and it's £345 million property portfolio.
That would do. That would
I
do.
think I might be struggling a little bit on that. No, not at all. But the Duchy, which owns 128,000 acres of land, a £21 million income last year. But now it's all...
It's not theirs, really, is it?
Well...
Because he's just taken it off his farm.
Yes.
And go then to his son or whatever.
Yes, I mean, it's...
spend some along the way.
But it does make an awful lot of money, it has to be said. And it's, Charles and Charity, the Princess Foundation, purchased, a cottage in Wales. He's got a lot of property as well, hasn't he, basically?
Yeah.
Charles now. He's got about 8 different houses to choose.
I know. I was reading over the weekend that he might turn Balmoral into a sort of public monument to his mum.
Well, bits of it, because it's already open, isn't it, Balmoral?
Yes.
Well, you
It's
can go
just-
and visit, although I've been, and you don't go inside the castle, but that's probably because I've only ever been there when the Queen's been in residence.
But did you... They didn't invite you in for
Not gonna let you
tea?
in there.
I don't know if they do actually
All
let you in.
access.
I wasn't sure on that, yeah, exactly. But I don't know if I like the idea
Did you
of it
see
being a
the
monument.
queues for the Queen at Windsor, though?
Yeah.
Going into the chapel and everything. I mean, you can't obviously go into the chapel where she is later read, but I mean, it was, even though there were time slots, it's like there was still a massive queue.
Unsurprising.
Wow.
But I still haven't quite got over the fact it was only 250,000 that actually got to see her lying in rest.
I don't think
thought
that's
it was
right.
so much more than that.
How accurate was it, though? How were they counting?
I mean, it can't be that hard. You just...
That was really amazing. I mean, as a couple of weeks of, and as the weeks go on, actually, I think we'll look back at that time. We probably still haven't processed it, but that was really remarkable. That
I think
it's
given
like a
we all
moment.
worked through it
Yeah.
from a journalist point of view,
very
it was
much so.
actually hard to process it at
Yeah.
the time. Really hard.
You know, the one picture was in all the newspapers over the weekend that I wanted to ask everyone about was the picture of Charles and Camilla and William and Kate.
Oh, yes.
The eve of the Queen's funeral,
Yes.
wearing their mourning garb black, smiling. What did we think of that? Did we think it was right for them to be smiling?
Well, how could you not? It was a family pic, and we talked about this yesterday actually, and I think we do smile even in the wake of people's deaths. Don't
It was a life well lived, long and full life.
Exactly that. That's the way I took it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Celebrate.
I know what you mean. It did strike me.
Yeah, it was a bit like, oh, I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
I'll go with
But,
that.
you know, it is. We've got to sort of celebrate. I mean, it was a celebration of life as much as anything else, wasn't it?
Yeah.
96. And
Yeah.
all the stuff she'd done, and working up until the very last minute, as she did.
Which she did. Dedication to duty to the nth degree there,
I
wasn't
think
it?
that's something, isn't it? Something quite remarkable. Thank you both very much indeed.
Thank you.
Not at all.
It's been lovely, really.
you.
has.
Well, yeah, it's all
Yeah,
right.
apart from the slight age comments have been.
Yes,
that's
I mean,
fine.
it's extremely rude to point out how old we are, Oscar.
Yes.
Actually, I don't. Do you know what? Age is an interesting. Get in touch on this
Oh,
one.
here we go.
No,
I'm
no.
struggling with my age
Get
at
in
the
touch
minute.
with this one, GBNEWS at GBNews.uk. People worry about getting old. You haven't enjoyed particularly, have you? Well, you've had a
Well,
nice
I've
time.
loved turning 40, but then I've suddenly said the words and I feel funny.
Oh,
Yeah, you sort of
that's
gone about being
really-
39 plus 1. and all that
39
sort of
plus
thing.
1. I'm in my
think
30s.
getting old is. I'm happier. The older I get, the happier I become.
Oh, that's nice.
It's
Very
true.
nice.
And on that result, I am sort of looking forward to turning 50 and being in my 50s and just thinking, well, that's going to be nice.
Good head of
Onwards,
hair
onwards and
for a
upwards.
man
He
approaching
does
his
have a
50s.
good head of
Take
hair,
that.
yeah.
I had a little bit
I
moved around.
think, Dawn, I don't know what you think. Do you think it's harder for women to grow old?
Why should it be?
No, I'm going to grow old disgracefully.
Good
I
for
don't
you.
actually care anymore.
Yeah.
And as speaking as the oldest person on the panel, by quite a bit.
You look like a supermodel, so
very much.
we don't need
Who's
to
that
worry.
supermodel?
Yeah, an aging one. But no, absolutely. No, age is just a number. Go for it.
Yeah, no, quite right. If you're growing old disgracefully, get in touch. GBViews at GBNews.uk. A multicoloured hair. It's that woman who's. It's that poem about when I get old, I'm going to wear purple. Well, so it's a famous poem. I'll dig it out for you, but that's quite. It's about a woman saying, "I don't care. I'm just going to do what I want when I get older."
What's wrong with purple?
Nothing. No. She was just saying she was trying to be outrageous.
Oh,
I'm
right.
just going to be
Purple's outrageous?
Well,
You need to get yourself a
Nothing's
purple jacket,
outrageous.
Dawn. Right, guys, thank you. Appreciate it. Stay with us. We're going to be right back after the break speaking to our economics and business editor, Liam Halligan. He's live from the Tory conference for us in Birmingham. That is, of course, in the wake of the Chancellor making that screeching U-turn this morning. That's after your Monday forecast.